Welcome to the Pathfinder Outdoor Kitchen. I'm Matt Mercer, instructor for the Pathfinder School and the founder of the Black Cat Bushcraft channel right here on YouTube. And this morning I've come down to a local waterway. We have water on my right side and we got a nice woodland here on the left side. And what I'm going to do is put out a few traps in this area. And I figured while I was down here, have my truck down here on the path, it'd be a perfect opportunity to cook up a delicious breakfast. And of course, if I'm cooking up a new recipe, it means somebody, one of you guys probably watching right now, are going to be a winner of a free care package of Pathfinder outdoor cooking gear coming to you from Reliance Outfitters. So I'm looking forward to announcing today's winner, and I'm looking forward to cooking up a delicious breakfast. This one's a little bit different. Stick with me. Let's get started. So I've gone ahead and got everything set up on my tailgate, ready to cook up a delicious breakfast. Without further ado, let's go ahead and announce today's winner. And congratulations to Sean Shoemaker for your submission of a recipe for shrimp and grits. I'm looking forward to this one. This is something I've only eaten a couple of times in my life, and being from the South, it's kind of surprising I haven't had it more. But I'm looking forward to cooking your recipe today, Sean, and having a chance to enjoy this delicious Southern classic of shrimp and grits. So Sean, you'll be receiving a box from Reliance Outfitters with all the Pathfinder outdoor cooking gear that I'm using on this recipe, and I'm looking forward to shrimp and grits this morning. So just a quick little history on shrimp and grits. It is a Southern classic that originates from Charleston, South Carolina, and that's just south of me, actually, being in North Carolina. And shrimp and grits, also referred to as shrimp and hominy. I think breakfast shrimp was also a name given to it early on. And if I'm not mistaken, from what I'm told, it's like one of the official state foods of South Carolina, shrimp and grits. So it's definitely a Southern thing, and some people probably love it, some people hate it, but I'm looking forward to eating it this morning. So let's get started cooking this recipe for shrimp and grits. So when you're cooking on your truck tailgate, you can afford all the amenities. Got a bush pot, carbon skillet, full-on 2-burner stove, cooler, with all the good stuff like shrimp, bacon. It's gonna be a good meal. All right, so to get started, the first thing we gotta do is a little bit of processing. I've got some green onion here, and so I'm gonna just process this stuff down. I don't need much of that, I don't think. And so what we'll do is just cut that up a little bit fine. I always love processing down the food to get ready to cook because it makes me hungry. All right, so what I'm going to do with that is just lay it over here on this plate. We'll just put all our ingredients over there on that. All right, so what I'm doing now is just mincing up a little bit of this garlic and just use a few cloves here. And if anybody is a culinary expert watching this, you'll probably wonder why I'm not cutting up the cloves of garlic correctly, but I'm just improvising with it. No formal training, right? You can probably tell. Just a camp cook. That means not too fancy. Alright, so you just got that stuff kind of diced up fine. We're going to cook that in the pan with some bacon. You know that's going to be good. Alright, so I'm just pour that over here on my plate as well with this green onion. We always call them spring onions. I guess you can still call them spring onions in the fall, right? All right, to the bacon. All right, so in Sean's recipe, he calls for 4 strips of bacon cut up. I've got some nice pieces of bacon here. Got a lot of lean on them, just enough fat. I'm gonna cut these up into small pieces, and we're gonna cook those up in the carbon skillet, the new Pathfinder carbon skillet. I did a video on that recently, so it'll be a good time testing that thing a little bit further. Been very pleased with the carbon skillet. I really enjoy that pan. It does just an awesome job. Cooks up great. All right, so we got our bacon cut up nice. So we're going to just put that over here with the rest of our veggies. All right, so we got our ingredients prepped. Let's start cooking. By the way, do you have a favorite recipe that you like to enjoy when you're in the great outdoors or spending time in camp? If so, go ahead and send that recipe to the email address listed down below. And that'll be a win-win for both you and for me. Number one, it'll get you an opportunity to win free Pathfinder outdoor cooking gear coming to you from Reliance Outfitters, and it'll give me the opportunity to try your favorite recipe out here in the great outdoors. So I look forward to seeing your recipes. Don't wait, send them in today. All right, let's see if we can get the stove fired up. There we go. Let's see if we can get both burners. There we go. All right, let's get some food cooking. All right, so the first thing we're going to start cooking is our grits. And in Sean's recipe, he called for yellow grits. And I love yellow grits, but I went to 3 stores and couldn't find them. So I had to go with what I can find. I'm going to be using the Pathfinder 64-ounce stainless bush pot here to cook my grits up in. And Sean called for half a cup of grits. And I don't have a measurement cup with me. And when I'm cooking in the field, I oftentimes don't. And so I'm just going to eyeball this about a half a cup, and we may end up with some extra grits, and that's okay, because nothing wrong with a little extra. And that's probably a little bit closer to 1 cup, but that's okay. Now I've got my 32-ounce bottle with some fresh water in it, and I'm just going to eyeball that as well, and we can always add a little more as we need. But when I cook grits like that by eye, normally what I do is I just kind of cover the grits and make sure there's a little extra water there. And they almost always come out perfect. So we're going to put that over here on the side. We'll keep a close eye on it. So over on this burner, we're going to be using the new Pathfinder carbon skillet. And we'll be cooking up our bacon with that. And I'm going to also put the garlic in there. Probably a few little onions are going to go with it, and that's okay. And we are officially cooking. Turn that down because that's pretty hot. Don't you guys love that sound? Bacon frying in a skillet out in the woods on the trap line. Man, that's good. Nothing better. All right, so I also realized that I left out the butter on the grits. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in just like a big tablespoon of butter into the grits. And a little extra, of course. Because you know how we do it on Pathfinder Outdoor Kitchen. We always go with a little extra. They're already starting to simmer a little bit. The stove's getting it done. All right, so we're making a little progress here. I'm just trying to get this bacon a little more crispy. It takes a little time in a pan like this to get the bacon to crispy. And keep trying to regulate the heat on this stove. It's a little bit hotter than I want it to be. And sometimes when you're cooking and you have a little too much heat like that, you just pick up your pan a little bit and you can kind of regulate it a little bit when something's getting too hot. These grits are also cooking down really quick over here. They're almost ready, really. You can see down in there, some nice grits. In fact, what I'm going to do is just put the top on them here and just set those aside until we're ready for them. And I tell you what, I think this is close enough. I'm going to go ahead and add in the rest of this onion. I think that's enough, honestly. Put up a little bit too much extra. That's all right. Boy, with that garlic and bacon and onion, boy, that's got a smell that will make anybody want to eat. Isn't that pretty? Now in my last video I talked about using pre-grated cheese and what a tragedy it is when you mess up a recipe with that. And so of course I'm going to be grating up some fresh delicious cheese, and this is one of my favorites. This is definitely one of those things that you got to sample. Delicious. Now I have my handy little cheese grater here. This is going to go into the grits. And this is going to add so much flavor. This stuff makes any recipe come together. Love this seriously sharp Vermont cheddar cheese. Man, that stuff is so good. We're just going to add this into that hot bush pot full of grits, and it'll just melt down in there. There's another piece that needs sampling. Whew. This is making me hungry. I'm ready for a nice breakfast. There we go. That's going to be perfect. It's going to add a lot of flavor to this meal. Alright, so we'll go ahead while these grits are hot and just get this cheese down in there so it can be melting. And y'all can see, again, I didn't measure any of this stuff out. I just eyeball it, and that works for me. But you can always go by the measurements, and of course we'll include, as always, a recipe card of exactly Sean's recipe. But just understand that I have taken a little bit of liberty just eyeballing stuff in the field. We're just going to stir that cheese down, mix it into these grits, let all that stuff melt together. Man, that looks good. You know, that almost means that it's time for another sample. Yep, just as good as it looked. Alright, so we've got this bacon pretty crispy at this point. And what I'm going to do is add in, according to the recipe, about a tablespoon of coconut oil. This stuff is kind of cold where it sat in the truck last night. Overnight, it was cold. And just get some of that oil down in there. There we go, just kind of melt that in. And now we are ready to add in our shrimp. The stove is so hot, I've turned it all the way down and it's still hot. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and add in some of these delicious shrimp. Oh, might have added a little extra. And shrimp cook up pretty quick. Man, that looks good. This is like something you get at a gourmet restaurant, right? Good, I think I finally cooled it off a little bit. The stove definitely cooks hot, even on low. That's one of the main challenges with camp cooking, whether you're cooking on the stove or on a fire. It's different from the stoves at home. It's a little bit harder to manage the heat, so that's the key thing, is just heat management. If you can do that, not burn your food, things normally turn out pretty good. This stuff is cooking up pretty quick. Smells delicious. Looks pretty, in my opinion. That onion and garlic has really kind of cooked down in there. Gotta love that sizzle, right? With those shrimp, you gotta kind of keep them moving. You don't want to get those overdone. We're getting pretty close right now. Now, a really important part of this recipe that Sean has specified is Slap Ya Mama seasoning. And honestly, this is one I have not used a whole lot myself. I'm going to go a little bit on the cautious side. I'm not sure exactly how hot that stuff is. But it is a Cajun style seasoning, so of course it's going to give this thing some kick. Guys, I think that this is about ready. And it's almost time to plate this stuff up with our cheese grits. Can y'all smell that? Oh my goodness. Doesn't that look nice? Bacon. Whew. I don't know why I'm hung up on bacon today, just smelling it. This just needs to be plated up on a nice plate full of hot cheese grits. And we're going to be having a Southern classic this morning. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, man, that smells delicious. All right, so I think it's time to get this plated up. We've got our grits in here in the pot. I'm just going to put a whole big bed of these cheese grits down. Man, creamy goodness right there. Grits aren't fancy, but they sure are good. And that looks good right in there. And step 2 is to plate up some shrimp. All right, and now this is going to be where the magic happens. We're going to add the shrimp and bacon to our grits. I am really hungry, guys, and this stuff looks fantastic. It looks good right there. And we have a couple other things we need to do. First of all, I'm going to take just a touch of this Slap Ya Mama seasoning, sprinkle on the top. There's one more thing that Sean included as part of his recommendation in this recipe, and that's to put some pickled okra on the side. Well, I just happen to be a big fan of pickled okra. So, Sean, I am going to follow your recommendation to the T. And I'm going to throw a couple of these pickled okra here on the side. I'm sure some people are not going to go for the pickled okra because I know it's a controversial thing. Okra in general are controversial, but for me, I'll take it. That looks so good. All right, guys, it's time for that official meal reveal. Here we have a delicious creamy plate of cheesy grits topped with that delicious bacon and shrimp cooked together with garlic and coconut oil with those green onions, and of course a side of delicious pickled okra. This is going to be a meal worth enjoying and worth the time, effort, and energy to pack all this stuff up and come out to the trap line this morning, and it makes a morning on the trap line just that much more enjoyable. Can't wait for this delicious shrimp and grits. All right, so after all that setting up and cooking, it's now finally time to enjoy my delicious meal of shrimp and grits. You guys know that stuff smells good. I know you can't smell it, but you'll have to take my word for it. And of course, anytime I'm going to sit down out here in the woods and enjoy a delicious meal, I'm going to take just a minute to give thanks. All right, so it's now time for the official taste test. Well, you guys know I hate to brag on my own cooking, but darn, that stuff is fit. It's very good. And of course, on Pathfinder Outdoor Kitchen, I'm always doing two things that my mama taught me not to. Talking with my mouth full and eating without offering you guys some. So, I can get you a nice taste here. It's a couple of shrimp, some bacon, some of those creamy grits. Go ahead, take a bite. Oh yeah. Since you guys can't have it, I guess I'll have to eat it for you. Well, Sean, once again, shout out to you, brother. I appreciate the recipe. It's a good one. And as I often say, it's a do-againer. Shrimp and grits is not something that I often think of cooking and eating. It's just not something I've had a lot. But it's really good, and maybe it'll make it into my rotation a little bit more frequently now that you brought it back to me. So, I'm not going to keep sitting here torturing you guys, eating this delicious food in front of you. But I do want to remind you once again to go ahead and submit your favorite recipes to the email address listed at the bottom of the screen, and that will get you into our database of recipes that I pull from when I come out to film these episodes, and it'll also get you an opportunity to win some free outdoor cooking gear from Reliance Outfitters. So go ahead, don't wait, submit those recipes. Please, if you haven't, subscribe to the Self-Reliance Outfitters YouTube channel. And if you'd like to see more from me personally, go over and check out my YouTube channel, which is Black Hat Bushcraft, right here on YouTube. I'd appreciate you coming in, and I'm sure you probably enjoy a lot of what I got going on over there, as well as some camp cooking, bushcraft, survival type videos. So thank you guys for your time, interest, and support. From all of us at Self-Reliance Outfitters, we appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Pathfinder Outdoor Kitchen. Take care, guys. I was so busy with the shrimp and bacon, I forgot to eat the okra. That's good too. It goes with it really well.